Aloha and welcome back to another video. I'm going to be covering Image comics in this episode of my comic book collection. Here we have The Walking Dead issue 1. We're going to go through a lot of Walking Dead issues, and hopefully we don't take too long going through them. I don't have a ton of Image comics. It's not like my Thor or Captain America collections, which if you haven't checked out that, check out the first and second parts there. First is Thor, second is Captain America and Daredevil, and that's the second one. The third one is, Miscellaneous Marvel, which should be out by the time this video is done. So yeah, Walking Dead for this part, and we're going to be keep going through here. Walking Dead series is really enjoyable. These are the reprints. If you don't know, if you happen to not know, The Walking Dead Deluxe is a recoloration of The Walking Dead. Originally, the series was in black and white, and the series obviously was so huge, so monumental. You know, it started out as a Robert Kirkman. Yeah, Robert Kirkman wasn't a big writer at the time, as far as I know. He did things like Battle Pope, and he had a small kind of cult following, but ultimately he wasn't a huge writer as far as I'm aware. But this more than just put him on the map. It helped kind of push comics further into, kind of help push indie comics and Image further than it's ever gone, and helped kind of reinvigorate them at a time where they kind of started to lose a lot of the success they had from, the early 90s into mid 90s. That was all bubbling down. So this, along with a few other books around that time, really helped put Image back on the map, helped put Kirkman on the map, and really jump-started the zombie craze that we see today. Sure, there was other things around that time that definitely helped, 28 Days Later and things of that nature, other films and such that I can't think of at the moment because I'm talking, and I don't need to, you get the point. Helped kind of make the modern zombie craze what it is today, but The Walking Dead certainly helped, not necessarily through its comic form, although that helped as well. Some of these issues, as far as I'm aware, sold millions of copies, some of these early issues, but beyond that, obviously it became a TV show, so that's huge. And I have far more issues than this. I'll actually cut, because I gotta go through another series after this where I sort through stuff. I don't know how long that series is going to be, how detailed it is, but I'll throw in more Walking Dead issues because I have far more than this, so you'll see those right now. So here we have, so this is 9. Let me set that stuff down there. Put this back, sort of. Again, I'll have a whole series where I'm sorting through things. I don't know how much that series will detail me sorting through things, or if it'll just kind of be me showing comics and then putting them back in their appropriate spot. But let me put this back here. 1, we got issue, where's issue 2? Jeez. I'm missing a handful of issues. Issue 1, let me pause this. Okay, here's issue 2. Love that kind of white cover, stark, grim, kind of, because it's almost like fog in a way, kind of obscuring the feature, the direction that the book is heading, yet still being visible enough to kind of allude to what's going to happen. Oh, you can't see it. It's not in frame. Oh no. The white in the background is almost like, how would you put it? And the undrawn part of the scene, it's almost like, the white paper that he's drawing on Kirkman, and it's almost as if the small bits of the idea of what Walking Dead, the potential, is already becoming visible in the second issue, and that being the representative as the city. But you never know, we all couldn't have suspected how far the series could have gone. Nobody really, not very many people, I'm guessing, could have suspected that the series would have gotten as far as it had gone, and that the potential would be as bright as it truly is. Once we pass through the once we pass through the fog, we got further into the series, things really picked up, as the series got a TV show. The comic series continued to advance further and further, grow and grow in complexity, and went on for like 190 something issues. The series won plenty of awards, was collected in many, many collected editions, and that gets me to the topic of how should you read this series? You should read this series, as I kind of had been talking about. If you want to know more about individual issues and things like that, definitely check out some of my pulls and pickups, specifically the one in the top right I should be putting right now. And as I'm sorting through this, definitely be picking these up, whether that's through the Walking Dead Deluxe version or, in a collected edition, you really owe it to yourself to read this. More than just if you're a fan of zombie films and zombie media, but even if you're simply just a big fan of survival tales or seeing a cast of heroes kind of have to snuff it out or slough it out. That's what I meant. Slough it out and survive. Then this is perfect for you. It's a very dramatic tale of a band of characters doing everything they can to survive the zombie apocalypse and the undead onslaught. And let me try and, here we have, let me try and go in order here. This is 8. Hold on. So I'm missing a few issues here, but nonetheless, unless I might have 1 or 2 more issues floating around here, you'll see probably when I'm going through all of this, when I'm putting more issues back in here that have been left out. Most of the issues that have been left out are issues that I either haven't read yet, need to reread, or all of them are either issues I need to reread, issues I need to kind of sort through, new issues, things like that. Most of them are new issues though. So most of the issues you'll see in this upcoming series will be new issues. Some of them though will be issues I've already read or have had for quite a while that you've seen, some of which you've seen. So, I'll have to sort through that, do the best I can. If you have any ideas as to what you want to see in that series, if you want to see the series at all, definitely tell me. Here's issue 5 here. I think I showed this off already, but I'm going to be putting these back as I say it. Yeah, I'm going to be stacking up down here. Okay, we have issue 8, very cool cover there. If you want the series in color, sadly, you're going to have to hop on, well, I don't know if sadly, but you're definitely going to have to hop on board this. The Walking Dead Deluxe, I should say sadly, in this part, has gotten all the way to the 19th issue so far, The Walking Dead Deluxe. So if you want the series in color, that's the only way you can get it, and it's kind of starting to get long in the tooth, but 19 issues is better than us being up to issue 100, right? So if you want to hop on board, as far as the whole color train of The Walking Dead, this really seems like the only way you can do it, unless these come out in collected editions later on, which some things I've read allude to them not being collected in a trade or a omnibus anytime soon in color. So, unless that changes, unless there's some new foresight that we're granted, the fans are granted, really, if you want to see this in color, you want to read The Walking Dead in arguably the best possible form, this is how you're going to do it, and you better hop on soon. Otherwise, though, the series is definitely worth reading no matter what, though. If you're okay with reading in black and white, or even if you don't think you are, give the series a shot. Subscribe to Comixology Unlimited for free for a month, and then it's $5 after that per month. You can read the entire series or as much as you can possibly read. Here's issue 9. And yeah, you can read as much as you can possibly read in that amount of time. So read fast, and you can go through as much as you can. You can go through pretty much the whole series as far as I know. And that's a great way to get into it. If you want to collect it physically, there's plenty of trades, and they're not too expensive, thankfully. Oftentimes they're reprinted. There's omnibuses as well. And it's not super easy. I'm not going to say that collecting it in that form is going to be the easiest. It's going to cost you definitely more than Comixology Unlimited for sure, but that's the way it goes, right? If you want it physically, that's the way you do it, and it's definitely worth it no matter what, though, I'd say, whatever form you get it in. Issue 12 there. Issue 13, very cool cover. Issue 14, I got to tape that top part here, but you'll see that, or I'll do that later. Very cool cover. I like the shadow work there. And beyond this being in color, the other probably reason why you'd want to read this version of the series is because there's bonuses in the back. So it's in color, as you can see here. Very cool. And beyond that, you get various bonuses. Oftentimes you get art panels in the back. You get letter hacks, which is reprinting of the original letter pages that were sent in, the letters that were sent during the time this was being written, and that's real cool to see. Oftentimes reprinted material doesn't always include this kind of stuff. I'm looking at you, various Marvel reprints, so that's definitely cool to see. You got a lot to read here, and a lot of them are quite interesting in my opinion. Even if you don't find them interesting, it's nice that it's included, though. Man, you got pages and pages of this. And some of these deluxe editions include more than others, but they all include bonus pages, so far at least. And then you got the cutting room floor, which is Robert Kirkman's, you get to see his page where he has his notes that he wrote, his outline of the comic, and then the various changes between the outline and the finished product. So that's real cool to see, and this is new. We haven't ever seen this before as far as I'm aware. And this is in every issue. The letter pages are in every issue, and some issues have more or less panels here where you get to see the various alternative covers. So, these come out every 2 weeks. And as far as we're aware, they're going through the entire series is what they said. We're already up to, again, like issue 18 or 19. So hop on board if you want to. And beyond that kind of stuff, they also include the various alternative covers. There's usually about 3. Sometimes they include them in the back. This only includes this one, as you can see. So there's this one, this, and this is advertising for the covers of issue 15. So, and this is the original cover as well. So there's a lot included here, a lot of bang for your buck for $4. It's in a better quality paper than your average issue of Marvel or DC. In my opinion, it's thicker paper, more kind of closer to copy paper, as opposed to kind of thin magazine paper, which I like. I like it in this form better. And on top of that, you got kind of cardstock covers here. So it's all great. You're getting a lot of bang for your buck, especially compared to what's coming out today. It's a great series, definitely worth hopping on to. A never-ending drama that goes on for 190-something issues, and you owe it to yourself to read, as I said, in some form. So if you're interested in picking it up in this form, hop on board now, basically. And if you want to hop on board the deluxe train, that's why you would want to. Read it nonetheless, though. Read it nonetheless. I'm kind of an idiot. I think I drank too much coffee. Some of the issues I may be missing are in here. That's why I'm having problems. I showed you issue 2 already. But beyond that, issue 4 is in here. I don't know if I pulled this out and showed it to you. I don't think I did. But, oh, no, maybe I did. Here's issue 4, nonetheless. Sorry about the camera work. If you have any ideas for the final part here, I think there's probably going to be one more part in this video, but again, I'm pretty sure I'm going to do another one where I do more organization and things, and show off new issues that I got. So if you have any ideas as to how I can better the camera work, how I can improve this series in any way, or if you just have been enjoying it so far, definitely shoot me a comment in the comment section below. I was trying to think of another word for comment section since I already said comment there, but couldn't think of one. Youngblood. Rob Liefeld's Youngblood issue 1. We went from The Walking Dead. We went from some newer stuff to older Image stuff. I probably should have gone old. Should I go? I don't know. Should I have gone? It doesn't matter too much. Older than newer or newer than older. For some reason, I went older or newer than older. I don't know if that's because the end of the Marvel books I was showing you there. No, I guess those were. Yeah, I did that with Marvel too, didn't I? Yeah. Anyways, I don't know why I did that specifically. I wonder if that's just because that's what I've been reading, the newer stuff I've been focusing on more because a lot of that stuff's still coming out. That might be it. I don't know. Gotta make up an excuse in my mind as to why that's the case. Whatever. Youngblood, issue 1. Not a bad series. Not particularly my thing, though. Issue 1 definitely doesn't handle having such a huge array of new characters very well. That bird is driving me nuts in the background. I don't know if you can hear that. It doesn't handle so many characters very well. There's just too much going on, too many characters, too much backstory. And I feel like they could have handled introducing so many characters better, such a large cast. But it's okay for what it is. There's some good action in there, and the art certainly is great. And if you want to see me cover more of this, I probably am going to have a card in the top right where I talk more about this, but that's generally my thoughts on it. Rob Liefeld's a very kind of love it or hate him style. So, personally, I don't think his writing's too good, but when he does write these books, I think he writes some of the issues, but not all. I'm not sure. The art, though, is done by him, and the art, I think, is fantastic. So for the art alone and kind of the cheesiness, the 90s cheese that this entire series and all the Youngblood books emanate, I really think it's worth it for very cheap for me for those reasons, but just kind of a filler series, similar to Justice, but even more so. I mostly just kind of read it because it's something that I found for real cheap. Let's move on. Issue 1, issue 3. As you can tell, I'm missing some stuff. This is issue 4. Yeah. I got issue 4 here. And a lot of these issues are like double issues in a way, where like half the issue is one story, half the issue is another, and both stories kind of interact in some way, whether they directly collide or they just kind of affect one another with certain plot points. Oftentimes that's the case for these. I've read a little further online, I believe, than issue 4, like issue 5 or issue 6, something like that. And yeah, not a bad series, definitely, but not something I necessarily go after if you're new to comics. Really, you kind of got to figure out what style you're into. And if you start to figure out you're into kind of cheesy books, then definitely, pick up Youngblood. Or if you want to see where it all started with not really where it all started, but where Rob Liefeld kind of got his fame from. If you want to see kind of the beginning of Image, then, it's worth checking out. But don't have your hopes too high, I guess, is kind of what I'm alluding to. Here we're moving into DC now. Looks like we're going to be able to cover DC and Image in this in this episode. This might be the last episode, as a matter of fact. Here we have 426. 420. The Adventure of Superman, issue 426. I have not read this. I thought the cover was cool back in the day. This was one of the earlier comics I picked up, and I just, picked it up because I like the cover, basically. I don't know too much about this. It's in the Legends crossover series. It's the 18th issue in the crossover series, it appears to be. And yeah, there you go. Cool cover there for sure. Don't know if it's any good. Superman's kind of hit or miss. I'm more of a fan of the Golden Age or early Silver Age Superman, but Bronze Age is okay. Again, it's kind of hit or miss for me in terms of what I like from Superman, what I don't, but I have a few issues here. Here we have issue 5 of, is this the reboot? I believe this is after Man of Steel, since this says issue 5 here. So when would that be? Was it 87, somewhere around there? 86 to 88, somewhere around there. I don't know. Got it only for $2. I'm pretty sure I've read this at one point. Didn't think it was too good. That's all I can remember. I think I've read this, but I don't remember too many details about it at all, really. Various Superman issues from this Bronze Age I don't find as easily readable and easy to hop into as a lot of the Marvel offerings from this time period. Not like it's impossible to figure out what's going on, but some of these issues I remember from this and Batman books from around this time aren't exactly as easy to just kind of, for me, to just kind of hop in and be like, hey, this is, okay, this character's probably has this relation with this person, that kind of thing. It seems easier for me to do that with various Marvel books that I've read, but I can't say for sure. I've definitely read less DC than Marvel, so take that as you will. Issue 27, I should say. Sorry about that. Issue 27 of Superman. Hopefully that's coming in frame here. Is this? Yeah. Anyway, so decent cover for what it is. Don't remember reading this. I don't think I have. And here we have this next issue. Everybody has this issue. Funeral for a Friend, which, as you can tell, focuses on the death of Superman. Haven't read it, as far as I know. I don't think I have. Issue 76. I don't know what to tell you, man. This must be part of. It has 2 up there, so yeah, it must be. After kind of, it's still in the Man of Steel era. I'm not exactly sure. Very cool cover there. Not exactly, as you can tell, we're starting to get to the books that I don't have as much to say on. We're starting to get to the books that I, haven't read or barely remember anything about. But we'll get to some Flash stuff soon here, and things will change. Here we have Takeoff Flash. Pretty sure I've read this World War II plot, right? That might be the next issue that's poking out there. Oh, you can't see it poking out. I don't know, man. I'm not gonna pretend to know what I may or may not know, but decent cover for what it is. I know. I think it was either this one or the other one that I picked up at a boardwalk along the coast of where I live, the West Coast. So yeah, I think so. So that was kind of cool. Very early in my comic collecting days. Got it from kind of a little nifty shop, and near it, if I remember correctly, was one of those fortune-telling machines where they have kind of a racially stereotypical Arab wearing a, I'm not gonna say too much not to offend anybody, but a stereotypical kind of Arab Middle Eastern man in one of those fortune-telling machines that rubs a magic ball, has a thick fake accent, and pops out a card and tells you what your fortune is. Those are always fun. I painted that as not being a good thing, but those are kind of fun for what they are. I remember that being there and being on basically a vacation along the coast with my mother, so you have good memories of that. This issue picked up very early on in a comic shop that I used to go to that eventually had issues. I forget if it didn't burn down. My game shop burned down, my first game shop. I forget what happened in the comic shop. Did it just shut down, or did something might have happened? Yeah, I think something might have happened. Anyways, that's where I got this from. And not a bad issue at all. Kind of, it's a kind of a new start, new home for the Flash. Yeah, definitely. It starts off with the Flash and his girlfriend moving into a new place, and him trying to get settled into start a new chapter of his life and get settled into a new normal for himself, and comes across various issues that climax with him fighting a blob monster at a ice stadium, if I remember correctly. This is written by, or no, is it I don't know. I thought it was illustrated by someone that I know, but I can't tell from the writing down there. I won't say for sure. But anyways, issue 174. This is early 2000s Flash, and for what it is, it was enjoyable, cheesy, not nearly as hard to follow as to what was going on as other issues that I've read of both the Flash, but also Superman and Batman, especially Superman in particular. Much easier to follow. Part of that might be because it was a new start, but nonetheless, it's fun. And this issue actually has a number. I'll open it up. Why not? Has a number of number of advertisements in it that I find really funny. I believe there's the Corn Nuts ad in here, the anti-smoking ad, a few other things. On the back here, you'll see that there's a chimpanzee. I'm not gonna see. I haven't checked yet. If I remember correctly, there's a Corn Nuts ad in here that I remember, that I learned what corn nuts were, surprisingly. That's how long ago it was that I read this. But I read this issue quite a bit. This was one of my more read issues of The Flash. There's a Corn Nuts ad, an anti-smoking ad, and on the back, I know there's a juice box kind of thing with a ape drinking it. Oh, no, an ape. There you go, on a skateboard. Advertising Tang. I love that ad. Man, you don't get advertisements like those anymore, sadly. You get like Geico and car insurance and stuff. You got a shaving ad there, that's cool. Here's kind of the art style. Pretty decent for what it is. What year is this? 2001, July. So cool kind of spread there. And here we have, Wacko Tobacco. That issue stands out in my mind. When I think of comic book advertisements, this is one of the first ones I think of, along with the Corn Nuts ad you'll see in a minute. Probably because this was one of the first issues I've ever read of comics, and it just, it stands out, I guess. I don't know. Very cool coloring and shading there going on. And here we have a, sucker ad. Of course, it has to have a woman on the cover to have some innuendos there. And that Corn Nuts ad, I remember that. Man, very cool. Love that. You don't get ads like these anymore. Kind of custom, almost comic book looking advertisements in comic books. You don't see nearly as often as you should, in my opinion. And along with the kind of the textured paper from the time, it just kind of gives that and the kind of the warm colors, it all kind of gives it a, cool vibe that, is from a bygone era. Again, a lot of the advertisements we see in issues nowadays, they're like Geico ads and crap like that. And it's just a bummer because, sure, advertisements in the end are real estate that's being taken up in your issue that already is small to begin with. It's pages that could have been added into the comic itself, the comic story itself. So ultimately the advertisements kind of aren't a good thing, but it's hard for me not to feel some kind of emotional attachment / kind of a cheesy, nostalgic feeling when looking at old advertisements. And that kind of makes it worth the real estate that it takes up in my opinion. Excuse me. Sorry about that. But in the modern day, when it's just simple advertisements that you'd see when going through YouTube or whatever else, it takes away something from, from the comic, because it doesn't feel like we're getting something entertaining. With advertisements like this, it's entertaining at least. So yeah, that's that. I guess I don't know if I should flip through the whole thing. Here's a skincare ad with like, what is it? And yeah, face gel. Got a Twix ad, old-fashioned Twix ad. Peanut butter Twix. Remember when that was new? I don't. I was not born yet at this time, right before I was born. But I do remember peanut butter Twix. I don't see those too often, sadly. Here we have the letter pages, it looks like. And there you go. There you go. Moving on, we have basically the first comic series that really kind of got its hooks into me, and that was Flash, the New 52. I don't have, how do I put that? I'm a typical millennial in the sense of my relationship with my father. So not to get too far into that, one of the best memories I actually have with him is going to a comic book store and having him let me pick out various issues because of whatever. It was getting close to Christmas time. Oftentimes it was when it was getting close to my birthday. So, bi-yearly, twice a year, sometimes 3 times a year, we'd head down to the comic book store and I'd be able to get a fat stack of comics. And most of the issues I'd pick up, pretty much all the issues I'd pick up would be Flash, the New 52. And that's really all I have. I haven't bought any issues since that. And we do that for various years, and I slowly kind of amassed a very small collection of New 50. Well, I don't know about super small collection, but I amassed probably, 40% of the run, something like that, 35% of the run, enough to have me hooked, enough to have me really enjoy and have good memories with the series. But there's various gaps in my collection, which you'll see. Cool cover there for sure, and this was the first issue I read, and it was thankfully written in a way where it was not too hard for me to be able to understand what was going on. Not as easy as Captain America, don't get me wrong. Further issues from further back, we're talking 80s, especially 70s stuff, Marvel in particular, but DC as well. Definitely easier to catch on to, but even a series like this, I was able to, thankfully, hop right into it and be able to, mostly understand what was going on, especially as I read further and reread these, right? I reread these constantly. A lot of fun. Pretty good series for sure, well illustrated, and looking past my nostalgia, yeah, I'd still say it's a good series and worth checking out. It ran for about 60 issues, 56, 58 issues, something like that. And there's quite a few interesting advancements and story beats involving the Flash's past, his relationship with his father, who, what do you know, how ironic. These issues I normally read when I was with my father too. That was my escape. So not to kind of get too far into emotional past, but it's crazy that the series that got me into helping get into comics, the series that I picked up basically only because my father happened to take me to comic shops, and and my escape from emotional stuff that went on involving that was a comic about someone dealing with their past, someone dealing with their father. So that's probably a whole nother story for another day. If you want to see me go into that further into detail about that and kind of my emotional ties to the series, I'll definitely do that. It's a whole story for another day, and kind of how media can help you get through tough times in your life or get through certain emotions, kind of help you deal with them. And this series definitely did that for me. It's not fantastic, it's not groundbreaking, but if you're interested in getting into the Flash, this is one of the best places to start, partially because it's so early in the timeline, right? The New 52 rebooted the Flash, but also simply because of how well done it is. The art style changes too often, I'd say, between the different issues. They change artists too quickly. A little damage there, as you can see, but I don't really care. These issues were loved. These issues, were what got me through various times in my life, and I respect the series and the art form for it. And besides family ties, where's that? Issue 15, issue 19. beyond the family ties and stuff, you basically have him trying to not really come into his powers, sort of. It's not as if he has to like learn his powers at the point that I read. He might earlier on, but from issue 13 through these issues that you've seen, because these issues are all that I've read of this series, but from the issues that I've read and from the point that I started, he's learned his powers and has some various friends, but he has to further that. He has to further understand what it truly means to be a hero and how exactly he can come into his own with his powers, and runs into various characters involving split timelines, of course, Kid Flash, and things of that nature. So it's very cool. You see some villains kind of also come into their own and become a thing. And because of all that, it's definitely a great place to start, as you hopefully can tell, as I'm hopefully illustrating correctly. It's a great place to start for The Flash if you're interested. Issue 21 here, love that cover. There's also, as it progresses, I should say, there's certain things involving, of course, Reverse Flash, and that cover's awesome. Look at that cover. Man, that's awesome. Involving Reverse Flash and kind of how the Speed Force works. That's certainly cool. Having beyond kind of the origins and kind of the beginning of the Flash coming into his own, besides that being a plot thread and his ties to both his family, his friends, and his powers, you also kind of get to dive further into that. You get to see flashbacks to his past and kind of understand truly why, he is who he is. Beyond having the split timelines, Reverse Flash, and some different villains and things like that. What's interesting, this is issue 23.2, so they wanted to cram in another issue without moving on to the next one. So we got issue 23.2, and I believe there's a few other issues in this series that are like that. So that's interesting. And we're getting up to the annual here. What I was basically saying, though, is there's a lot more that meets the eye with this series that kind of dives further into all those plot threads. You more than just get to see bits of his past, but you get to kind of understand who the Flash truly is and how that affects him in the current day. You get to more than just, this is the annual number 2, so I place that after 23 here, roughly would be like 24, issue 24, somewhere around there. As far as I know, not 100% sure, because sometimes annuals don't come out every year. Modern day, they normally do, though, so I'm not 100% sure if this is where it should be in the timeline here, but I put it there nonetheless. And what was I saying? Sorry about that. So beyond the family thing that I talked about, going further into that, with his friendship, right? His friendship kind of becomes a bigger and bigger plot thread as the series goes onwards, and kind of can get in the way of his, life in a way. Kind of like Spider-Man in that sense. The villains can kind of use his ties to his loved ones and his friends to his detriment. But that's all kind of what makes the series so good. It follows and includes a lot of the tropes that you would see in a lot of comics like Spider-Man or what have you. The coming of age, the whole thing involving a past riddled with flaws that make the character who he is today, that kind of whole thing. The villain kind of becoming evil because of X, Y, or Z, and eventually needing to face off against the villain and capturing his girlfriend or what have you. And although it has all those kind of tried and true staples, those kind of cliches, it does those cliches so well, and it furthers those cliches and kind of dives into the humanity and the realism as to why those cliches are cliches, that I'd say that the series doesn't necessarily feel as cookie cutter as it may seem early on. As I was hopefully trying to illustrate all the different various elements of the series involving his past, involving the Speed Force and coming into his powers, and involving his friendships and his ties with his current family, so to speak, with his friends and new loved ones. All of that there's much deeper elements in those plot threads than you would otherwise be led to believe when the series started. So back when comics were $3, I thought $3 back in the day was a lot of money. Now they're $4 or even $5. I believe DC is pushing a lot of their $4 books to $5, such as Batman, one of their Superman series, and I believe one of their Wonder Woman series. The Joker is $6. Geez, I don't even want to get into that. So crazy that not too long ago they were $3. So I jumped forward quite a bit. Issue 39. The last issue I was looking at was like 29, something like that. Oh no, it was annual number 2, which would have been roughly 24. So we went from 24 to 39. So there was definitely a lot of changes by that point, but along with Google and rereading these issues constantly, I was able to do the best I can to piece things together. Here's issue 41 with this cool variant cover celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Joker, as you can see down there. Super cool. Really enjoy that. I'm a big fan of the color pink. I know it's not manly, but it is. It's men that are okay with going against the grain. Here we have, what is this? Speed Force Convergence. There you go. Kind of covers up the title there. You kind of, I don't know, marketing nowadays with comic covers isn't the same as it used to be. You got all these variant covers and covers that don't necessarily tell you what you're going to be reading. One of the issues I had early on in like February that I was talking about, I believe it was issue 1 of the next Batman. I had the variant cover I had Wonder Woman on the cover, and that was it. Didn't have anything Batman related, and the title itself was on the side like this. That was the way the trade dress was laid out, so you couldn't even tell it was Batman. And, people that are into comics probably won't see that as a big deal, but from an outsider's perspective, from someone that isn't an uber comic nerd, not using that as an insult, but I'm not, that's not a good term. I'll say it, what the hell, I'm not balls deep into comic books. I'm not, up to my head in comic books. And because of that, certain things like that and the way that the trade dress is laid out can be confusing for me. So you saw more and more of that as time went on, and this was around the era of 2015, and you saw quite a bit more of that with variant covers that had, other characters that aren't even in the book. Joker's not even in the book, as far as I know, issue 41 that I showed you there. Here, half of the title is being obscured by blue. And although it's kind of cool, it's artistic in a way. Like, you can't even read the series unless you, turn it. I guess you can't read it on the side either. I'm pretty sure the series isn't called Speed Force. That's like a subtitle of the series. It's part of the Convergence line, as far as I know, which around the time that the New 52 was starting to have issues in terms of continuity, DC wanted to clean things up. They started the Convergence books, which ended a lot of these New 52 runs, and various things characters outside of the Flash had Convergence books, along with I guess that's still part of Convergence. Never mind, had the Convergence books, and that kind of led into things involving, what's that called? In their new Rebirth series. They have various series had Rebirth lines that were half reboots, half continuations of the New 52 as a way for them to refresh the numbering and kind of reinvigorate many of their series. The Convergence basically converged the New 52 into kind of aspects of their new universe and led to, again, the sort of reboot series of Batman, The Flash, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, so on. And this new kind of series, half reboot, half not, was called Rebirth, as far as I remember. Eventually, they got rid of that. I think they started calling it New Universe, and then they got rid of that altogether, and it just, as far as I know, it was just called, the Batman. It was called The Flash, right? And they didn't have much branding connotating that it was part of a kind of new line. And now they're doing the whole Infinite Frontier thing, which is a whole nother can of worms. They keep doing that, and it's happening more and more often. It was one thing when the new 52 originally happened up here, as I was showing the earlier issues. When that first happened, it was quite controversial because it was them kind of throwing away a lot of the continuity and changing a lot of things about characters that people had loved, changing a lot of things that hadn't changed for decades. But we've gotten to the point now that, every few years now, it seems as if they're doing some kind of new thing to shake up characters, and it doesn't really shake them up, because when you're constantly shaking up characters and you can never allow a lot of a series to grow into what they can truly be, in my opinion, without giving them enough time to prosper and flower into a complex series with new villains and letting a writer truly spread its wings. If you don't allow that to happen and you just keep rebooting a series every few years or trying to throw in various event type things where Thanos various crossovers and having Thanos affect X, Y, or Z, or have some new character come in, Kroll come in and cause various issues with Marvel. It doesn't work, right? It stops the series' potential, and at best, it's a fun distraction from the series, but you don't subscribe to Captain America or to Daredevil, or in this case to the Flash, to read Convergence. You didn't know Convergence was going to happen, right? And although it may be a breath of fresh air for some people, ultimately, in my opinion, and more and more people's opinions, it seems, I'm getting tired of it. Every single year this happens. And although haven't been following, I've been jumping around with comics, even I can tell you that. And I'm not even super big into comics, as I was talking about earlier with my little bit of language. Convergence issue 2, and is this issue 3? Oh, this was, yeah. There was Convergence the Flash, as far as I know. This is issue 2 of Convergence the Flash. There's pretty sure there's an issue 1, and then there's also Convergence Speed Force, as you can see there. Convergence Speed Force issue 2 is right here. Why? It's Wonder Woman he's fighting, I'm pretty sure. So why are there 2 Convergence series that are way too similar? I don't know. Money, I guess. I'm missing some issues from around that time, so it's a little confusing, but nonetheless, that's the way it goes. Now we're getting into other characters here. Only Shazam issue I own currently. Read a few online of Golden Age Shazam. He's definitely a charming character, and the new movie, despite being totally different than the comic books, in my opinion, the new movie is one of the best superhero movies I've seen in recent years. It's hilarious. Shazam Convergence, you can see right here. Interesting story, but kind of hard to pick up, right? It's not the worst to pick up in terms of not knowing much about the character, but it's not going to be super easy to follow either. It's, I wouldn't say go out and read it if you haven't read the Shazam. There's definitely areas that you should, things you should read before reading Shazam Convergence if you're interested in reading it. But if you are, it's not a bad issue at all. But definitely feels like something that you should read, just like the other Convergence books, at least involving the Flash, because those are the only two Flash Convergence series, as you saw, and Shazam Convergence are the only damn train. Okay, I think there's a dog. I don't know if you enjoy my rants. Tell me. There's a dog barking in the background, so that's irritating. But at least the train's gone. That dang bird is not, squawking constantly. I've only read 2 Flash Convergence series, as you've seen, in only bits and pieces, and Shazam. But going by that, it seems as if the Convergence series is really something that is pretty decent, but it's something that, kind of a fun popcorn kind of read, in the sense that it's kind of like a summer blockbuster, but it's not what you want to read if you want to hop into these characters. You should really start with the New 52, progress through. Once you reach Convergence, read Convergence, and have that kind of lead you into the whole, Doomsday Clock. There you go. Lead into Doomsday Clock and the various Rebirth series. So if you're interested in the Flash, I'd say, the Flash New 52 is a great place to start, but read through that and only get to Convergence and Doomsday Clock and all this other stuff once you kind of really become established with the characters in the New 52 line. And then let Convergence, let Doomsday Clock kind of help further you into what Rebirth is. That's my understanding of how it goes on. I haven't read too much of these new series, of the new kind of current line of Flash, Batman, and so on. And I haven't read too much of the New 52 stuff, but through digital reading and from what you can see in my collection here, and you'll see in my pickups, that's my best understanding of how all that should go and what you should do, your plan of attack. I should really wrap this up here, but I guess we'll finish it out with Swamp Thing, and then we'll have a few more kind of miscellaneous DC stuff to go through, some Batman, and I'll just kind of, I guess, next video will probably be shorter. I don't know. I don't want to keep this video. Yeah, dang it. Yeah, I'm going to keep this video, the next video short, and just kind of finish things off and maybe throw in 1 or 2 things. I got some new pickups that are kind of unique, so maybe I'll throw them in here. We'll see. Oh, no. I got another stack of comics I can go through. Never mind. Okay, next issue. that we're going to is Swamp Thing issue 1. This is part of the Future State line. So this is, I guess I should say, Future State Swamp Thing issue 1. Good issue for sure. If you want to see my coverage of it, click the card in the top right. I should put it up there if I remember. It's late in the video though. I gotta hurry this up. Good issue for what it is. If you're interested in the Swamp Thing, this is not a bad place to start. It's, there's better, more acclaimed, I should say. I don't know for sure, but there's more acclaimed series in Swamp Thing's past. But if you're interested in the new Swamp Thing, or you're interested in hopping in and you want to pick up something more recent, you're not sure exactly what you want, whatever, this new series isn't a bad place to start. If you want to read this new series, the currently running 12-issue miniseries, that's part of the Infinite Frontier line right here, you should. It's a good series. Should you read a Swamp Thing stuff before this? You don't have to. You can. You probably would appreciate this series more. But, it's 10 issues, sorry. This 10-issue series. But you certainly can hop into it without knowing anything, and I did, and I've been quite enjoying this one. The question really remains, should you read Future State Swamp Thing? I don't know. That's tough, because Future State Swamp Thing, on the one hand, it spoils certain aspects of the inevitable fate of the Infinite Frontier Swamp Thing, but it doesn't ruin it. And on top of not ruining it, it seems as if they may have planted the seedlings, so to speak, the seeds of the tree. They may have they may have planted the seeds of what will eventually sprout into a kind of alternative timeline kind of event, right? Maybe the reason why I've thought about this. Early on, I was thinking, why did they ruin the ending? In the Future State Swamp Thing book, this and the second one, they completely spoiled the inevitable fates of the various characters in Swamp Thing. Why would they do that? But maybe the artist had intentions to it. The more I read of the Infinite Frontier Swamp Thing, the more I kind of realize that they may have done this for a reason. They may have shown you the inevitable deaths of some key characters in the Swamp Thing Infinite Frontier line, because they planted, that was them planting the seed, and that it will eventually sprout into something that's much greater than the sum of its parts. And yeah, we don't know, but that's kind of what I'm going to leave it at. If you want to read this Future State Swamp Thing series, it definitely kind of primes you and gets you ready for the new Infinite Frontier Swamp Thing books, but you don't need to. And if you do, you may be spoiling some aspects of the ending, but I really don't think it will. Really, I think it comes down to whether you think that it's important enough. From what I said, it has the potential to be important, but until the series ends, I can't say for sure if this series would be worth reading. Be mandatory, be like, oh yeah, you definitely should, because it makes the Infinite Frontier series, 10-issue limited series, all the better. I can't say for sure if that's the case until Infinite Frontier Swamp Thing ends. So as it stands, read it if you want to be primed and ready for Infinite Frontier Swamp Thing. But if not, you can easily hop into Infinite Frontier, the Swamp Thing. I've said that a ton, without reading this. Speaking of that issue I repeated the name of 50 million times, here's issue 1 here. Very good issue. Great art. I love the artistry in this series, and although it kind of slightly goes up and down in terms of quality artistry-wise, I don't know if there's flip-flopping artists or not. It all blends together very well so far. I've read about 4 issues into the series. We're about 6 or 7 issues into the series. I think we're 6 issues into the series. I've read 4 of them. And it's quite good artistry-wise and story-wise. The artistry seems to kind of, go up and down in terms of quality, but it's not a drastic enough change to make me say for sure if it's even a different artist, let alone, whether it decreases the enjoyment of the issue by much. The plot-wise definitely peaked at issue 2 here. Issue 1 and 2 are a very short story arc, but a very fun story arc. And after that, for issue 3 and 4, which I've only other ones I've read so far, kind of take a step down, but it's still quite enjoyable and something that I think you should read definitely if you're interested in the Swamp Thing. Obviously, if you're not, then don't. But if you don't know if you are, what about if you don't know if you are? Well, basically, the Swamp Thing is for someone that enjoys kind of, how would I say that? Not this series, at least, I don't want to say for people that are interested in creature features, but kind of people that are interested in horror, but less so kind of actual terrifying horror or classical horror, more so people that are into kind of otherworldly, lucid kind of horror movies. think Jacob's Ladder, the movie, 1992, 1993, somewhere in there. Jacob's Ladder mixed with kind of, how would I put that? Mixed with kind of like a modern kind of superhero movie is kind of what I'd describe it as. It has kind of the weird otherworldly aspects of Jacob's Ladder, and some of the horror kind of comes from that, but it's not a horror series. It's not scary at all like Jacob's Ladder sort of is, but it has aspects of kind of the otherworldly psychological elements and not knowing what truly is real and what's not truly real. And that's what really gives the series its hook. It's the bread and butter of this limited series so far and is the foundation. But built around said foundation, that's the trunk of the tree, the leaves of the tree. What you're truly getting out of it throughout is action. You know, you're getting a kind of a superhero, modern character that has to fall into his own and become something that is what the world truly needs. So take that as you will. If that sounds interesting to you, if the character sounds interesting to you, period, then yeah, definitely get into that. I'm going to end this series. I'm going to end this video now. Tune in for the final part, probably, of this series where I cover Batman, a few old issues of DC that I have, and a handful of other things involving like Archie and other such things. In the final part, probably in the next video. If you enjoyed this, tell me. If you didn't enjoy this, also tell me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Aloha.